to Deped come up with the Humane, flexible grading system. As the country draws closer to school opening, the Alliance of Concerned Teachers, or ACT, Philippine Press Deped to release the guidelines for an evaluation and grading system that corresponds with the education objective of ensuring learners are well equipped to understand, respond to, and contribute to society. The group urged the agency to do away with old stringent metrics and opt for a humane and flexible one as the education sector navigates drastic changes in teaching and learning. Among the concerns raised by parents and teachers alike had to do with Deped's use of the old evaluation system for BLCP, performances, and written outputs. Each composes 40%, while the last 20% goes to exams. These were challenging to begin with pre-pandemic. Now, this will be impossible to meet with remote learning and will only be another burden to grappling families, while completely missing the aim of education, declared ACT Secretary General Raymond Basilio. He explained that class performance is usually measured through reports, group presentations, and participation during discussions. This obviously will not be applicable to distance learning, particularly the most preferred modular system and the TV or radio-based instruction modalities. Added Basilio, where teacher-student interaction is limited to clarificatory Q&As and the exchange of old and new modules. Even in online distance learning presentations and recitations will be hard to pull off given connectivity and teach limitations. Not to mention that less privileged students opting for this modality will be at a serious disadvantage, lamented Basilio. Meanwhile, written output in the form of quizzes, tests, and assignments and exams made up periodic tests from Deped division offices are standardized forms that ACT argues may not work under the use of varied modalities and the stark inequities worsened and highlighted by the pandemic. To add, Deped guidelines state that periodical tests should be administered in school as much as possible with observance of health protocols. However, the uncontained pandemic and lack of preventive safety measure render this impermissible and risky, continued Basilio. Finally, the group says a numeric grading system will be unfair to students given the multiple hurdles to quality learning, namely the limited input from the government, limitations inherent to remote modalities offered by the Deped, and the various strains imposed by the health and economic crisis. As much, we recommend a pass or fail mechanism for evaluation that rely more on students' ability to exhibit and apply lessons to productive tasks at home and in their communities. This, to us, is more in keeping with education's objective of arming our youth amid a crisis instead of alienating them from their surroundings and adding unnecessary pressure on their lives, proposed Basilio. ACT furthered that Deped must urgently release the guidelines for such and should not be treated as an afterthought, similar to what occurred prior to the second postponement. Here is the Deped Statement on pass or fail grading system suggestions. The Department of Education or Deped said Monday in virtual press briefing that it would retain a numeric grading system for public schools' distance learning in the coming school year. Even as we want to make everything comfortable, safe, and loving and great for our learners and teachers, we also want them to achieve the learning objectives which we have set for ourselves, especially the expectation of better performance, said Deped Secretary Leonor Briones. According to Diosdado San Antonio, Undersecretary for Curriculum Instruction, said shifting to a new grading system would mean additional work for teachers, which the agency did not want to implement. Kahit letter grade siyan or pass or fail, gagamit pa rin sila, magda-add pa rin sila ng performance ng bata. So gusto mo natin na maiwasan yung mga dagdag na aaralin pa na mga kasama nating guro, said Antonio. Earlier, Deped said it would implement new ways to assess students as learning shifts to home from classroom due to continuing threat of COVID-19. Education Undersecretary Nepomuceno Malaluan said that the department finalizing new guidelines on assessments and grading system which would be issued this week or next week. Dahil bago ang pamamaraan ng pagtuturo, kailangang mag-adapt din kung papaano ma-assess yung learning progress nila, he said in a Senate hearing on Wednesday.